Hey, it's Tuesday night, and we're talking about lesson 6, Seed for Achievement in the new Lead the Field. And as always, we're going to start with wins. If anybody has a win, briefly, because I have a full curriculum for this evening. But if you have a win that you would love to share, raise your hand, unmute yourself, jump in.
Well, hi, Peggy.
Hi, go ahead, Kathy.
Mine is just very simple. I got over the flu. You know, there's
That's a win. Yeah.
that's, I mean, you're in the middle of it going, I haven't had this in years. What is this all about? And
Right.
the cough and stuff. So that's my big win.
No, that's great. Well, and knock wood and, grace be, but if you don't get sick often and then you do get pretty sick, you really value
You do.
your health. It's like that contrast of, oh, this is not how I want to feel. Like, it's not great. So I'm so glad you're back with us. Anybody else have a win? Laura. Hey, beautiful.
Oh, hello. So today was a bunch of wins. One, realizing what I was really thinking and listening to Feeling is a Secret, and then listening to all of Bob's video on this lesson 6 was just beautiful and powerful for me. I left my credit card at a 7-Eleven while getting gas, had to drive all the way back in like 4 hours. Someone turned it in. There was no extra charges. Good karma for somebody out there and for me. The other thing was that when I was at the center today, lots of people came in, a steady stream of people came in, and we had just enough quiet time to do Tuesday's trainings, and that was beautiful. And I just am so grateful to be helping so many people. And we're looking at wanting to and offering our facility as a research facility. So that may, right? So we're looking into that right now. That's the new thing. Okay, I'm done.
That's so amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. Good karma. And, Bob does talk, and Earl talks about the law of cause and effect in here. So, we think, if you do something nice, and I know everyone in this room does, and Laura, you do, if you do something nice for someone else, it's not a trade. It's not like you're a quid pro quo. You're not trading with them doing something nice to get something in return. You're just being the kind person that you are. The universe is keeping, or God is keeping, the ledger. And that's, and then things happen, like you don't get charges on your card when it could have been easy for someone to commit fraud on your card, and you're attracting people to you. So that's so brilliant. I love that. That's great. Thank you for sharing, and congratulations. What a cool thing to become a research facility. That would be amazing.
We'll see what happens. It's not yet.
Yeah.
It's just something that came up, and we're like, yeah, I think that would be a great idea. So
Yeah,
we just
totally.
work things out.
Just visualize it done.
Mhm.
I love that. Lisa, do you have a win you would like to share?
I have just a basic brief win that I'm keeping my head about me over this past week and a half, where everything is, sorry about the squeaking. She has a new squeaky toy, so you might hear that.
Your dog. Nice.
Yeah. So, there's a lot going on at work right now, and I have some coworkers who they want to send emails to tell me about things that I need to know about, but it's not enough to send me an email. Now they have to come to my office and tell me that they sent me an email, and then want to talk about the email that they sent. And I don't have time for all that. And, and I just try to approach that as, how would they want to be treated? You know what I mean? It's like, I could just say, look, I don't have time, but I don't want to treat them that way. And I try to listen to what they have to say, and we'll talk about the email that they sent and stuff like that. And I'm just keeping my head calm, and
Nice.
And things are still
Right.
getting done, so that's good.
Look at that. You're
Yeah.
being kind and gracious. It reminds me a little bit of this As a Man Thinketh by James Allen. And there's I think it's the last one, the last quote in there, but it's the serenity. Have you guys ever read this one? Yeah. Calmness of mind is one of the beautiful jewels of wisdom. It is the result of long and patient effort and self-control. You've been working at this a while, sister. Its presence is an indication of ripened experience and of a more than ordinary knowledge of the laws and operation of thought. A man becomes calm, or a person, a woman, becomes calm in the measure that he understands himself as a thought evolved being, for such knowledge necessitates the understanding of others as the result of thought. And as he develops a right understanding and sees more and more clearly the internal relations of things by the action of cause and effect, we'll be hitting on that today, he ceases to fuss and fume and worry and grieve and remains poised, steadfast, and serene. Well done.
Wow.
Yeah. And stuff still gets done, but you
Yeah,
imagine that you honored them, treated them the way that you would want to be treated or the way they would want to be treated. And that's something that our world, I think, so desperately needs. So well done. Well done. Joni, I know you're in a place where you can't either see or hear. I think you can hear, but you can't see. Do you have a win you'd like to share besides being in the Caribbean?
Thank you. I'm just feeling really good about well, first of all, that lesson was amazing, and we'll talk about that later. But there were so many great points, and I feel like I took some inspired action by coming here, and I'm very focused. I'm putting one foot in front of the other, so I just feel good. Thank you.
Good. Excellent. Well, hey,
Yeah.
we're going to move on. My intention for this session is to really do a deep dive into this work and to help you implement it into your lives, because that was my promise to you, that this program is really about taking what we learned and thinking into results. Obviously, there's lots of cross-pollination. As you can see, Bob talks about the stick person. He talks about praxis, the law of cause and effect. But I want to help you all, each and every one of us, I include myself in this, to really turn up the heat on our goals, on our results, not in a hustle and grind way, but in a use the material way and see what happens. So that's my goal. It has been throughout, but I think this lesson in particular is so powerful because he's talking about, they're both he and Earl are talking about several things in here. I believe he's talking about the knowing doing gap. You probably picked that up, that we all know things we could be doing better, more consistently, and also about changing paradigms and building more effective paradigms and integrating belief with behavior. That was in lesson 8 of thinking into results in praxis. And what I love about this, and what I love about the exercise that's being put forth for us this week, is that if we can understand that our paradigms were mostly programs that were programmed into our parents, into our siblings, into our grandparents and great-grandparents and culture and on and on and on, then we can be more comfortable, I believe, at looking objectively at the current level of productivity, engagement. Am I giving it my all? Knowing that if you're not, it's not for lack of desire, it's because your paradigm is fighting you and reeling you back in every time you try to start something new. He says it right in here, that pull of the paradigm is so strong. that it takes an intentionality to override it. So my intention for this week and going forward is that we really work on individually and as a group, what can I be doing to be giving it my all? Am I giving it my all? Where can I add more productivity in alignment, not like adding more hours to your day, although that may happen if you're inspired and in alignment. But where can I apply what I already know to do to start doing better, right? So as and there's reasons that that's hard, and we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to talk about ways to overcome it. And then I'm going to talk about some of the things I've decided to do for myself. But first, I would love to have you all share. We can spend a few minutes just being quiet and having you do some writing about ideas you have after you've gone through this, because I had several just top of mind that I've been intending to do that I haven't done. So I want this to be teaching, observation, and then implementation, and it's consistency over the end that really wins the day. But getting back to the observation, the most effective people I know that use this work to absolutely blow the doors off their current results don't get hung up about their paradigms and their limiting beliefs and their non-productive behaviors. I still kind of do. Like, I'm a little ashamed even to share with you some of the things I know to be doing that I'm not doing, because I'm like, you teach this, why aren't you doing that? No. None of that is effective. That's the paradigm, I believe, just reinforcing itself. Like, why even try? Why bother? You've tried it before. You're no good for this. You're not good at this. You've tried that. That didn't work. So I really want to emphasize that the more we can be like scientists about what we're observing here in our behavioral patterns and our thought, everything starts in thought, of course. But when we start to observe the way we've been programmed or the way we're behaving today, then we can say, wait a minute, that's not producing a result that I want. I want my income to go up. I want my coaching business to increase. I want my health to be better. I want to attract my soulmate, or whatever it is. I want to shift careers. Whatever it is that is your overarching goal, because that's the place to start. You can sit there and say, well, I already know some behaviors that would make my life better. And that's true. But why don't we start with the low-hanging fruit, meaning the behaviors that if we tweak them a little bit, if we do it just a little bit more, as Dean Briggs says, for the lavishing sake, what are those behaviors that are very connected to and focused in on our C-type goals that will help move the needle? Do you know what I mean? So let's connect those up. Is that a clear description? Do you guys have any questions about that?
Very clear.
Okay. Yeah. I I haven't listened to this lesson in a while. I started listening to it over the weekend, and it was like a shot between the eyes. I was like terrified and excited at the same time. I'm like, oh boy, here we go, but I am more excited about this. So let's get started. Do any of you have any thoughts right off the bat in terms of listening to Bob's intro, going through the lesson, having read through the worksheets?
I had two, Peggy, if I may.
Sure.
So one was the concept of loving yourself as much as you love other people, your work. That's something that I won't take a lot of time on this call, but it was an interesting angle in this lesson, and something that I never really knew what it meant to love myself and for a long time. But so again, I won't elaborate on this call in the interest of time, but it was a very interesting angle from which Bob came.
Mhm.
But the other thing that really struck me, and maybe might be useful for everyone on the call, because everybody has their own entrepreneurial journey, even Lisa with her Shopify store, I thought, I do not, if I am completely honest with myself, which was the other thing that he was talking about, if I'm completely honest with myself, I do not give my business the same effort, the same time, the same dedication, the same commitment that I gave Microsoft and VMware and all the other corporate companies that I worked for, where I overachieved. I cannot say that I have given my own personal company that level of productivity or honesty. And it really hit me to, and when I was listening to that, which is,
Right.
wow. So
Yeah. Well,
for
and I
what that's
think,
worth,
no, I think that's very powerful. And I think the two are connected. Are you responding to an external stimulus of, I won't say approval, but acknowledgement, endorsement, at a
validation,
girl, kind of
yeah,
thing? Or is that more of a driver than being in alignment with who you are and working for yourself and really promoting yourself? And what I particularly stood out to me here, and I thought we'd go through the worksheets and I just go over some of the high points and we can stop and, talk about it at any point, is, to thine own self be true. That of course is our friend Shakespeare. We can be true to other people, but in the end, who's taking care of ourselves? Who's being true to ourselves? And what he talks about here is honesty is when your thoughts on a conscious level, your feelings on a subconscious level, and your behavior on a physical level are all in alignment. That is living an authentic, honest life. And I don't know where y'all were raised, but surely was not raised in that environment. And I don't have a big beef. I used to, until I started having my own kids and realized how hard it was. But I don't have a big beef with my folks. They were just doing the best they could. But as, alcoholics and young people who got pregnant with a child and, basically had a shotgun wedding, there was a lot of shenanigans going on in my family. And as a little kid, to survive, I had to feel like my thoughts, hey, this isn't normal, or this is not okay, or this doesn't seem right. I had to override that, or I did override that for probably survival purposes with, okay, everything's okay, nothing's really wrong here, but that taught me quite early on in my paradigm programming to disregard my own intuition, my own gut feeling, my own version of reality. Do you see what I'm saying here, Joni? Does that make sense? And I'm sure this resonates, with everybody that's here. As a child, I was basically programmed to override my own intuition and to be polite and to accept what was happening around me as normal, because people were just doing the best they could, but it was
yeah,
far off the
completely.
norm of what I would say a healthy dynamic in a family household was.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't have the violin out here. Listen, I know how to eat with the right fork and spoon. Everything turned out. But for a very, very long time, that carried into my first marriage. And when I started to feel like things were off and people were like, wow, but everything's so good here. You have the American dream, I disregarded that internal message for a very long time. So yeah, so what struck me is that being true to oneself is when your thoughts, your feelings, and your behavior are all on a continuous loop. And no matter how hard it is to stand up for yourself or to stand up for what you feel to be as true and right, that's what you do.
Right.
So I think that's a very powerful definition of honesty, as being true to oneself.
Yep.
There's a lot to unpack here. I think it's really, really good. Did anybody else have any observations that really hit them as something that was a growth opportunity or learning or something that was kind of like phew, mind blown? Laura.
I apologize. I lost my internet. And I was on here and all of a sudden everybody froze. And it was like being in an alternative universe. I'm like, well, which universe is this? No one's moving. I am.
It's the worm moon.
It was
I've had a
weird.
lot of strange things happening in my house too.
Yeah, weird. So like I've said a million times before, I feel like I'm just repeating myself in a way, but I've known for a long time that my life is as evidence of what I believe. I just never understood that I could actually ask for what I wanted. And now that I get that, I'm really paying attention to what I'm thinking, not hurting myself. That's taken care of. It's just being super honest. And I realized, and so I started really just being open and noticing. And it's like, yeah, there's an underlying fear still there. And that is what's keeping the financials where they're at. And so just noticing that, and then as Peggy and I have talked, it's like that's not my job to argue with that. It's my job to just set it aside and focus on what I not just what I want, what I believe is. In some parallel universe, which is going to be mine, this is what's happening. So that's it. It really, it even hit me harder. I just need to relax and be okay with noticing what I'm really thinking. Obviously, I'm doing something right because things are changing, but except the bank account. And so somewhere in the paradigm is a money thing, which I've known that, but I'm taking people's money. I am doing that.
Yeah.
And yeah. Anyway, again, it was quite interesting today to notice what I was really thinking. Like, damn, I'm good at deceiving myself. Like, dang. So that was cool. It was
That
really
is cool. And I want to just make a distinction here about the verbiage, because I think this matters and it leads to deeper understanding. I had a client yesterday on my TIR call who said she feels like these are her negative paradigms, and this is the new positive paradigms that she's building, and she feels like she's in a pinball machine, boing, 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 back and forth, back and forth. And here's what I want to say. I said this to her, and I'll say it to you. We are not our paradigms. They do, to a large degree, control what we think, how we feel, how we behave, our results, for sure. But the essence of who we are is above that. It's our spiritual perfection. We
I
are.
love that reminder. I love
That,
that.
yeah, we're a soul. Bob said it. You don't have a soul. You are a soul living in a physical body. And we all have, thanks to this little friend, we all have paradigms. This is how the mind works, right? Bob even put it in here. We can live up by our senses. We have a conscious mind, we have a subconscious mind, we have a body. Our body moves into action. The action causes a reaction. We have results. And then the question is, are you thinking as a starting point from your current results, or are you thinking with your higher faculties about what you really, really want? And knowing some fundamental truths, like the universe is in charge of most of what's going to happen to us. God, the universe, the quantum field, whatever you like. Our job is very pure and simple. It's to think the thoughts of things we want. It's to feel the feeling of feeling good about it. Feeling is the secret. I love that you're dialed into that. I mean, not for nothing, I pulled two of Dr. Joseph Murphy's books off the shelf that I highly recommend.
Mhm.
This one is called The Power of the Subconscious Mind, the
Have that one.
subliminal program. and the magic keys, the secret to happiness, to success and happiness. And the whole jam here is, we become what we think about all day long. So, okay, great. Start thinking about everything you want. Well, it's easy on a conscious level in some ways, but then we have to interact with life, and we have these senses, right? And we can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. But Laura's horses can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. They live by instinct. They know what to do, but we have the ability to think. So why is it hard to always stay focused on what we want and to get emotionally involved on that, to set up a vibrational pattern that will attract what we need back to us and to move our bodies into positive, effective action? Because we're programmed to live from the outside in. We're also programmed to have, in our paradigms, beliefs about ourselves that are limiting, that are untrue. We get into a little bit of worry, fear, and doubt, the understatement of the year. So that's why it's hard. And I want to say two very important things about this. I really encourage all of us, and I have not been doing this faithfully, to not only notice the existing paradigms and try to put in the correction right then, but to literally rewrite the paradigm. Because paradigms tend to travel in packs.
Okay, rewrite. Give me an example of rewriting the paradigm.
Okay, so if you notice, as you did very calmly, hey, obviously my subconscious programming ain't where it needs to be vis-a-vis the kind of income that I want to have, right? Not a big deal. You just notice it. It's like, oh, that scientific observation. Now, what would be the replacement paradigm that you would replace that, whatever's in there? And I don't think we have to know exactly what it is. We just need to know it's producing the results that you don't want.
Oh, like money flows freely to me?
Yes.
Like that?
The how I do my best. I do my best every single day. I do everything I know how to do, right? I do my work and a little more for the lavishing sake. I do everything I know how to do. When I have fear, worry, and doubt, and I'm going to step out and do something, I still bust out and I do it to the absolute best of my ability. I just apply myself every single day as if it's already done, as if it's already happening. I write that script. I'm so happy and grateful that money flows to me on a continuous basis from multiple sources and increasing quantities. I spend an hour a day. That's a lot. You can start with half an hour, but I spend a half an hour every day. I do my homework, and then I just sit there and I think about my goal, and I ask for guidance. I get into the spirit of my goal achieved. And I sit there and I write down. Remember how in the previous lesson, he had us sit down and write out a bunch of ideas every day in the energy of your goal achieved? I'm telling you, they won't all be great ideas, or they might not be great ideas for today, but you're going to find probably 5 gems a week when you're connected up and asking for guidance that you immediately act on. Because that's what I'm talking about in terms of replacing the paradigms. It's rebuilding the program set in an effective way. I'll give you an example. I want to do 2 things. I want to serve more people and I want to raise my prices. My inclination is to keep my prices where they are and to go at a price war with other people in my industry or whatever. But that's not what is in alignment with my heart. I've invested hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in myself, studied with the best in the world. I think I do a pretty good job. I'm always committed to doing a better job, etc. And so part of what I need to do, that I know I need to do, that I'm not doing and I'm not practicing, is becoming better at sales and marketing, become a better public speaker, get good enough to go on people's podcasts, get really good at helping people overcome their paradigms, i.e. selling, so that I can help them if it's appropriate for them. Is this making sense?
Yes.
That's completely reworking what I know needs to be. If I were an outside consultant and I was helping Kathy with her coaching business, this is
Mhm.
exact advice I would be giving you, Kathy. Right?
Yes, exactly.
Right. So, that's where you have that little, come to truth moment in your own heart. But what I'm trying to impress upon you all here is it's one thing to observe the paradigm in the moment and pivot and not buy into it. That's effective in that moment. But if there's a consistent paradigm, the changing of which would completely alter your goal, would alter your results in such a way that your goals would happen, that's the one I'm suggesting we go for collectively. Right. And in Laura, in your case, it's getting more butts in the beds.
I'm sitting here thinking, what kind of real statement can I make? Because I'm looking at all the statements that are standard, and it's like, no, I already believe I have abundance. I already believe I have wealth. I feel very wealthy. But how about I am allowed to make extreme amounts of money?
Yeah.
I am allowed.
Yeah, if that's what resonates with you. You could also say, God wants me to experience as much abundance as I can possibly have.
Okay. See, I already believe that.
Okay.
I
So
already
you somewhere inside of you, you feel like you're not allowed, like it's a lot, like who's allowing
right.
you?
I am allowed to make extreme amounts of money. Someone has told me
Yeah.
I'm not allowed to do that and spend it on myself. To this
Yeah.
day, I'm still not taking salary.
Yeah.
That's stupid.
That is stupid.
It is stupid.
Sorry. No, that's exactly what I said not to do. Don't judge yourself. But it's not going to help you achieve, it's not going to help you achieve your financial goals if you're working for free.
Right?
I know you're building equity in the business, but yeah, there's something, listen, and that's part of our self-image is charging what we're worth.
Okay. Yeah,
Listen to this. I'm going to say this. I heard Bob say it somewhere. I think it was on a social media. Money is an amplifier. We have the worst ideas about money as a culture, as people. If you have more, somebody else has less. Rich people are idle rich. Be careful, you could lose all your money. Money's everywhere. Money is energy. Money is an exchange of value. Money is an amplifier. I know you, Laura. If you had more money, you would not only enjoy more good for you and your family, you would be very extending the reach of what you could do with that. Everybody in this room would, but Laura, I know for sure you would. So that's my point. If you feel like you're not worthy, or if it's not okay for you to have money, I would absolutely write that into the script of what you listen to or what you say to yourself daily, or put it up on a sticky. But I am worthy of all the abundance I can possibly experience. I would put it in as positive of a format as you can.
thanks. Got it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna work on it. Yeah, got it.
Listen, money goes where it's welcomed and stays where it's honored.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think I need to make it fun. I think I need to. Yeah.
Fun and easy and light. I think there's this gravitas around money that it's as easily manifestable is that a word, as anything
Yes.
else
Now it
is.
is.
It is now. It's as easy to manifest money as anything else. I mean, I loved it in that intro when Bob said he went from $4,000 a year to 175,000 at the end of that year. His original goal was 25,000. And by shifting his mindset away from debt, away from worry about money, away from how uneducated he was and how unworthy he was and how he'd never grown up with business experience or a proper education or a proper family life. All he got fixed on was earning money. The end. He heard people talking about, floor cleaning businesses. He borrowed $800 from a guy. He said, I wouldn't have given myself $800, but he said this guy did, and he started that business. But I want you to pull out your calculator and do the math. What if you increased your income by 40 times? I'm telling you, if Bob can do it, you can do it, I can do it. He did it by rewiring his paradigms. And he didn't even know what he was doing. He was, at the time, for the most part, an unconscious competent. He just did what Ray Stanford told him to do. And Ray was a taskmaster. He said, you got to do everything I tell you to do unless you find out I'm lying or I don't know what I'm talking about. And neither of those are true. That's how important this work is. I know it's hard for our rational minds to accept that. Like, could that really happen to me? Could I go from earning 100 grand a year or 50 grand a year or whatever your number is to millions of dollars a year? Yes, you can. And you can have fun with it, and it can be light, but here's what's so beautiful about this is we have to take what we know on a conscious level and start to integrate it into the subconscious programming and start to act on it and build a new way of being, that new behavior becomes the paradigm. So in my case, I've committed to spending an hour a day, investing an hour of my time a day it's called my power hour, where I reach out to past clients, to current clients, to prospects, see how I can provide more service, if I can be of service to them. You get the point. Doing that 5 days a week for 5 hours a week, what do you think will happen to my sales? Yeah, they'll go up. And I'm sure when I'm in that energy of spending that time in the morning, thinking about my goal achieved and asking for guidance, that we've all experienced this, ideas will download. But then we got to take those ideas, pick the best of them, and as my friend Mel Robbins says, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 them, or make sure that we have a good grip on our paradigm, because your paradigm is going to try to talk you out of doing things that scare you, you might fail, that might make you look silly. That's the pull here. If you didn't have an existing set of paradigms that just naturally causes you to do what you do, it would be easy to write new software and just like if we were all blank computers, we just download all fresh software to make the computer perform the way we wanted. We're not. I've been programmed for 63 years, so that's what's happening. So you can see, so now the metaphor gets a little more clear. Writing a new program that overrides the old program instead of fighting with the old program is going to make you so effective in what you want to do. I'll give you another example. When Bob worked at the Prudential, when he was a consultant there, they wanted to increase their sales. Their sales were not so great. They weren't selling a lot of $100,000 policies back in the day, $100,000 life insurance policies. And Bob got to sniffing around and just observing what the salespeople were doing. Well, up until about noon, all the salespeople were talking to each other and hanging around the water cooler and talking about the football game the night before. And he's like, you aren't going to sell insurance to each other. You have to talk to prospects, right? And so he got them doing 2 new behaviors that they knew to do, but they just didn't want to do them. He got them skin to skin with a prospect by 9 a.m. This was before Skype and the internet, of course, but he got them shaking someone's hand, sitting across the desk at 9 a.m. every single morning, at least one person. And they had to ask every person that they talked to to invite them to buy $100,000 life insurance policy. Now, he didn't say you have to sell them. He didn't force them. It was just listen to their concerns, explain to them how this can help them. Most people are underinsured, and sell them, offer to have them buy the life insurance. He said within the first month, they were selling more $100,000 policies than they had sold in the previous year. Now that's different than having the salespeople kvetch and bitch and complain about, well, I really don't like selling that much. I feel like I'm pressuring people. Bob was like, no, in the chair, invite them to buy. That's it. No more than that. No more, no less. Just do it. So that's what I'm talking about when I say building a new effective paradigm, meaning habit that makes the old one obsolete and is much more productive. So, holy Hollywood, we've been talking a lot here. But does that make sense to you guys? I just want to give you some high points, and then before we end, and I have time, I can stay past the top of the hour. But this, I heavily annotate and highlight my workbooks. It's not for everybody. This gives my husband the shakes. And he does all of his on a different piece of paper. But for me, it's the way that I reinforce my learning. But I put in here the high points, the aha moments, and I encourage you to do that. You can always print more of these. I can send you more of them. There's more paper. I don't love cutting trees down, but I believe there's something about writing. And Bob says this, writing causes thinking and thinking causes writing. And there's so many high points in here. Like this week, I would love to invite you to ask yourself the questions, am I doing my best as relates to what my C-type goals are? One of the biggest things is, am I studying consistently? The only way to eradicate ignorance, I love that he said the big problem we're dealing with here is ignorance. The only way to deal with that is through knowledge. And the only way to acquire knowledge is through study. And it's through study that we raise our awareness and we have a greater understanding of how things work. So I really encourage you, when you're thinking about what are you going to implement into your life, and you're going to have to give something up. In my case, I'm going to have to start going to bed earlier. I'm going to have to start getting up earlier. But it's worth it to me to have the kind of impact on my clients that I want to have, and to run the business that I want to have, and to live the life I want to have. So when I ask myself, am I doing my best? No, I know a bunch of things I could be doing, and I'm going to pare those down and prioritize them to the low-hanging fruit that I know is going to move the lever on the dial, like getting skin to skin or face to face with prospects every single morning, for an hour, doing reach outs, nurturing, helping people, finding out what they need, having effective sales calls. But be honest with yourself. What can you start doing that's really going to move the needle for you? I wanted to point out that the thing that keeps us out of alignment is a limiting subconscious programming. Don't feel upset about that. Don't judge yourself. That's not the point. Be like a scientist. Just be laser sharp about it. I have a really great colleague and friend. Her name's Kim Calvert. She goes at this hard, man, and she never takes it personally. She's just simply like, that's old programming. It is not serving me. And she's my friend that did $7.5 million serving 750 clients last year. She was couch surfing and had to sell her car to get into this consulting program. But she wanted so badly to help people and to help herself. And now she and her wife run this relatively, robust company. She has salespeople. She has a beautiful organization. And it's because she did this exact work that we're doing here, that she completely changed her paradigm. Went from broke, I think the car she sold, I don't know what that was. She's currently driving a Lamborghini. So she's a car person now. But, but the transformation is so stark. And I know I've seen it in myself and in Dan and in my clients. But and she's done that in the last 5 years. So it takes it takes time, but it's worth the investment. Yes.
I just had a thought. It's like, I'm just going to let the universe surprise me.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from, but just thought, okay, if I don't know the how and that's not my job, then I'm just
Mhm.
going to let the universe surprise me.
Right.
I'm sure she's surprised, not really surprised, but
Well, yeah. No, she is surprised. I mean, I think if you had talked to her 5 years ago, she would have absolutely said the same thing that Bob said to Ray, and the same thing that I said in my head when I was talking to Bob. There's no way I can believe this. Right? There's just no way. You just can't, because your rational mind and your paradigms, your limiting beliefs are like, hell no, there's no way that, right? Me
no,
speaking on a
I
TED, right?
the only thing that I don't know is that I haven't done it to the greatest extent that I can. That's what I
Right.
don't. I believe it all. I believe it wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
But my paradigms are there still. And
Mhm.
so I'm just going to keep going and just keep
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
and keep
And I
learning.
think what's cool about this is that if you think about it, often I've heard of this exercise where you can take a sheet of paper, I don't have a blank one right here, but across the top, you can write a line, and you can write a line down the center, and you can say on one column, my job, my responsibility, my work. And we'll talk about that in a minute. And on the other side is God's job, or the universe's job, or the quantum field's job, whatever that is to you, whatever your personal belief is. And for the most part, Laura, I love what you're saying, because we end up getting on this side of the ledger, and that really jams the machinery. It really slows things down. It
What I
really
love
does.
about this is that, and you guys don't know this because you don't know what the work of Byron Katie is completely like I do, but it fits in perfectly. It
Yeah,
fits perfectly. What's my lane? What's not my lane? God grant me the serenity,
that's right.
I
So
love-
yeah, so our work, no, and I love what you're saying here, because for those of us who are hard workers, and I know everyone in this room can hustle and grind and put your head down, um, that's great. Apply that to the following areas of your life: building the image of what you want, based wholly on desire. Desire is the only prerequisite. Kathy, remember when Bob used to say that?
I do.
I miss him so much. I thought about it today. Boy, what I wouldn't give to go back to one of those paradigm shift events. Yeah. But he said desire is the only prerequisite. We are built to have everything we want in this life. And to your point, Laura, the how, we just do the best we can. We do our work. That Dean Briggs quote, do your work. And when you're tired and when your paradigm's pulling on you, which it will, keep doing your work. Don't give up.
Well, and I think my work is the meditation and to focus and to notice and to be honest and all of that, and then those downloaded inspirational ideas to move. I have acted on, I would say 95%, and the what I haven't acted on didn't feel peaceful. I either talked myself out of it somehow, or just like my son will bring something up to me, and that's his download. So I would say everything that I have, if I have felt peaceful about, I have acted on.
Yeah,
So why I have every right to be confident. I have every right to expect everything to work out.
absolutely. I mean, flip for sure, if we stay in our lane.
Yes.
The problem is we don't do what we can do and what we know to do and what is the most high leverage thing to do, which is, if you go to page 13, do you guys have your worksheets if you do. Otherwise, I'll show it to you. So it has this picture of our friend, the stick woman. I'm gonna start calling her whatever. They, they, them. You know, but here's the stick person. Thought energy is flowing to and through you, and it is neither positive or negative. It just is. It's this pure, positive, unadulterated energy. It's like the stem cell of vibrational energy, right? You all know that stem cells can be turned into anything: fingernails, hair, skin, right? They're undifferentiated. This is pure, infinite. I mean, I have come to the belief that as human beings, it would be hard for me personally to even fathom the amount of capacity and limitlessness of things, experiences, impact, legacy, luxury, love, you know, the amount of things that we could experience in this lifetime that we're living right here, right now. That thought energy is pure, unadulterated energy. It has no shape or form until it hits our thoughts on a conscious level. Now, one of two things is either happening. Either you're in charge of your thoughts, you're using your imagination for you, not against you. You're not imagining the worst, you're imagining the best, right? Mel Robbins has a meme quote that's been going around. What if it turns out? What if it turns out better than you ever expected it could, right? So it hits your conscious mind, and the way it goes, how it manifests, is 100% dependent on how you think, what you're feeling, and how you're behaving. And that is all set up by the way we're programmed. Paradigms aren't good or bad. They just produce results we want or results we don't want. And if they're producing unwanted results, no big deal. Observe it like a scientist, build a new one that you know, all of you already know how to do about 100 times better than you're already doing. That's why I can sell this program with the absolute faith that I can tell people if they want to 10x their income, you can absolutely do that over the course of a year because you already know how. You're just not doing it.
You're going to laugh at me, and that's okay. I'd be happy to make everybody laugh at me, but I just realized that my thoughts are limiting me.
Mhm.
I just saw that. I really just saw that my
Yeah.
thoughts on a certain topic limit.
Of
I don't
course.
have to have those. I don't have to have those constraints. I
No.
don't have to, I don't need to do that to myself.
No, and you don't have to take it personally, Laura, because I'd bet the farm that you as a little kid didn't say, hey, I'll have an extra helping of those limiting beliefs. None of us did, right?
Yeah.
It's like, here, have a side of you're not good enough. I mean, we all did, right?
Yes.
So I love that you see that. You know, Bob used to say, hey, you're the only problem you're ever going to have, and baby, you're the only solution. He was so clear about that. And they talk about this in here. There's nothing outside of you. The game is internal. It is all internal. The economy's not doing it to you. Your husband's not doing it to you. Your friends aren't, you know, the whatever, fill in the blank. There's no there. It's all being created internally. And the more we can get good at studying ourselves objectively, like compassionately, I know you would love, right, Laura? Like compassionately. And just say, that's not what I want. What do I want? Oh, you know, here's what I want. Okay, well, if I'm going to have that, what kind of thoughts would I be thinking? I'd be thinking, I'm already successful. I already have that. Even though it hasn't shown up physically, it ultimately goes from spirit through the intellect into physical form. Most of us, you know, Joni and I studied with this guy 6 years ago, and he did a really good job of this. He said most people, and he didn't explain it as well as it's being laid out here. Most people wait for things to drop into physical form, and that's where they go at it. That is the least potential. That is the lowest potentiality of changing your reality, is once it's dropped into physical form. It's like you've unconsciously placed the order with a Lego factory. You say, oh, well, I would never ask for things I don't want. You wouldn't consciously, but through fear, worry, and doubt, or lack of self-worth, or limiting beliefs, you are vibrationally, the universe only speaks vibration. You are energetically, you are vibrationally in alignment with what you don't want, or with what you currently have, thinking that's the best you're ever going to be able to do. I don't know. It doesn't really even matter. But that's what the universe is picking up. So the universe, the law of attraction, works 24/7. It's like, yeah, here you go, Laura. Here's where you see yourself fitting in the economy and the income level, or whatever it is. And then once it drops into physical form, then we have a big wrestling match with it on that level. Is this making sense to you? When in the end, we ordered it up to begin. It's like the Dorothy and the Wizard of Oz. She always had the power to go home.
Very much it's making sense. Very
Yeah.
much it's resonating.
So our paradigms were given to us. Guaranteed they're limiting us. Guaranteed we now have a toolkit to observe them, to say, that's not what I want, to look at this stick person and say, wait a minute, I have access on that side of the ledger. Our side of the ledger should be like this big, and the rest of the ledger should be like this big, right? Because you have to move your feet. I mean, Bob used to say, God will feed every bird, but he won't put the food in the nest. You know, you got to go out. You have to grow. You have to expand who you're meant to be. You have to pull more of your amazing spiritual perfection to the surface. That's the point here. If we focus on that, serving our clients on a higher level, serving our employers on a higher level, serving our families and ourselves on a higher level, the good will come. The law of cause and effect will respond to us. But we have to start to see, how can we start to change our behavior? In my case, and I have notes on this, we can go over more of these Thursdays, but you have the power to build any image you want. And the real work to do here is to spend time every day integrating your new image, your belief with your behavior, having the image, practicing believing in it, practice getting emotionally involved. Feeling is the secret. Think about it when you go to bed at night. Think about it when you wake up in the morning. Build a power life script, which, by the way, I'm going to offer a course, like a couple of hour deal to you guys to put together a power life script. But it's only through the constant spaced repetition of a new idea, of a new paradigm, that you're going to get rid of that old limiting belief that's producing results you don't want. So as you go through this week, what I'll say, and then I'll open up the floor, is your paradigms are going to put up a fight. Just, get the gloves out. Actually, don't fight with your old paradigm. The more you can imprint the new paradigm, see yourself doing it, see yourself being effective, feel grateful. You're not going to know how. You might fall down, but you'll pick yourself back up. You're going to grow. You're going to express more of your infinite potential. Start to think about the goals you have. What would someone who had that be doing? What would a person be doing? I have other colleagues in my industry. I know some of the best practices. I'm not doing them. So I'm committed right here and now to start doing them. So on page 16, he says, choose 3 different situations in your life where your paradigm wins over what you know is the truth, meaning what you know to do to be more effective. And as a result, you compromise your best behavior. In my case, I go to bed late and I sleep in. Do I think that's terrible on the face of it? No. But I know I feel better when I get up, I get going, I do my work, I sit at my desk, I get a good cup of coffee or tea, and I do my work, and I work on my mind, and I work on my business, and then I have a schedule. So guess what? If you guys want help, we can talk about this on Thursday, but think about what are 3 things you could start doing immediately that would have a huge impact and start moving you towards your goal.
You know, one of the things that he suggested was the 6 a.m. club. Peggy.
I know. Guess what's on my thing? So I'm also doing the 6 goal achieving activities the night before. 6 might be a stretch, but I have this incredible planner that Joni turned me on to. Brendan Burchard makes these. There's all kinds of planners. This one I resonate with, but he has some really thought stimulating questions. What one thing that I can get excited about today? If the person, what one word could describe the kind of person I want to be today? What is that word and why I chose it? I mean, it's a very thoughtful, and then he has top 3 goals, priorities, tasks that absolutely must be done today, clarity, evening journal. So I'm choosing this as a tool, but
Peggy, what is the name of that?
it's I can send you a link to it, but it's called the High Performance Planner.
High Performance Planner.
Yeah.
I love you guys. I need to go.
Okay, I'll let you go. So we're going to meet on Thursday, but I want you guys to do the work here and really think about it, really dig into this lesson. It's going to make a big deal. I've rewritten my goal cards. I'm very much doubling down on what I've been doing. And I'm here to help you guys too.
I'll be
Pardon
traveling
me?
Thursday morning and I'll get on if I can. But if
Okay.
not, I'll listen to the recording. But I'll
Okay.
probably be either in the airport or I don't know where I'll be. But
Okay. No, that's perfect. No
Okay.
worries. Okay. Be safe.
Sophie, I love you. Bye, guys.
Yeah.
You're
Hey,
awesome.
Lisa, you've been a little quiet, and also Kathy. Lisa, you go first. What are you thinking? How is this impacting you?
This is reminding me of those 3 arrows that we had in a previous lesson. You have A, where you're actually growing, and then you have
Yeah.
B, where you're just kind of hanging out, and then you have C. And my paradigm really loves B,
Yeah.
where you're just kind of comfortable where you're at, just, oh, maybe I'll do it tomorrow, that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm kind of at, 45-degree angle for the most part. So it's curving up to A, but again, the ebb and the flow thing that we talked about a couple weeks ago. So that's still happening. Yeah.
Okay. Well, look, no harm, no foul. We have to be scientific observers of what's happening to change it. If we're in the dark about it, we have no tools. We have no awareness. That's why raising our awareness, but then deciding to do it. And we're all at the point where I would really love for all of us, myself included, that every day we intentionally carve out time, preferably, in a good quiet time when your mind is calm, to do your work, study the mindset and the manifestation work, and then do your work. Like really, like it's happening, it's here, it's now. What can I do? What are 3 things I can do this week to move the ball down the field?
Right. Yeah.
Like embodying it, like becoming it, seeing it, feeling it, getting excited about it, which will do 2 things. It will set up a vibrational pattern that will attract to you everything you need, because you're putting a very clear order in with the universe. Dear universe, this is what I want, number 1. And number 2, it'll move your body into inspired action.
Yeah, that's what my body needs. Really, it needs to be moved into inspired action.
Yeah.
So,
but that will take thinking. This is what I've come to understand after 5 years of teaching this. It will take intentional thinking about it, planning, getting into action. I know you have a job job, but he's talking about how many hours a day we have. If you spent another 5 hours a week doing this intentional work and doing the inspired action that came to you, the ball would move faster and further.
Absolutely.
And by you, Lisa, I mean
Yeah.
everybody, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
That's the
that's really not a
difference.
lot. I mean, it's 1 hour a day,
Right.
I mean, I'm sure I can, pencil that in somewhere. So,
Well, if it's
it's,
2 half hours, I mean, I know a
yeah,
gal, this gal, Kelly Roach, she's built, I think, an 8-figure business, 8 or 9-figure business. While she was working, initially she started it, and she had a little baby. She started it on evenings and weekends back when she had a corporate job. Everybody gets the same amount of time.
right, yeah.
Earl said to Bob, when Bob said, "Hey, Earl, what about time management?" And Earl dropped his fork on his plate and started laughing and said, "You can't manage time. Everybody gets the same amount of time. What you can manage is activities." And there's a beautiful lesson that's coming up where we're going to talk about productivity and activity management versus time management. It's a different way and a much more empowered way to think. But building a paradigm that says this thing's happening and I'm doing everything I can, starting with being the cause of the effect. What does that mean? Building the image of what we want, getting emotionally involved in it, and spending time every day downloading inspired action or thinking with our higher faculties. What would I do? Now that I'm successful doing this, what would someone in my position do? There's Google, there's other people, there's YouTube, there's so many resources available to us now that have never been. That if you just spend an hour a day doing high leverage behaviors, you'll be amazed at how things will start to move.
Yeah, that sounds.
That's not to be confused
That's-
with figuring out the how. That is a waste of time. Effective behavior is where the game is.
Okay, that's really good.
And you will download the how. Keep in mind, if this is my goal, right? My goal's up here, and here's my current results. When I elevate my mind, my thoughts, feelings, and behavior to this level, everything I need is right up here on this frequency. It's not down here. And the thing holding me here is my paradigms. You can't do that. Where is it going to happen? How's it going to happen? Yada, 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 yada. No, I can, though, in my imagination, elevate myself to the vibrational frequency. Remember how Bob used to say this? Like, there is a place. It's a vibrational frequency. Like my phone is a vibrational frequency. Like this Zoom call is a vibrational frequency. When you get yourself in harmony with this, everything you need to know will start to pop. You'll get brilliant ideas. Pay attention to those. Write them down. Take action on them.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, it
Because if
definitely
you,
is.
that's, I'm not, Mel Robbins has a style. She's got a style. But she's right about this, that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 thing. That is what short circuits your paradigm. Because your
Yeah.
paradigm, if you go far past the 5 seconds, it'll just be like, boom, it'll pull you right back from the edge of a brilliant move.
Have to remember that.
Yeah. And it's subtle, like Laura was saying, like, oh, Bob talks about this. Oh, you don't need the trouble. It's not really going to work. Do it tomorrow. Nobody's in their office. Don't make the phone call. It puts us on permanent hold. It's also known as our comfort zone. So, what I loved about this is, he says the greatest joy. Well, first he says, and this is on page 18, it's realizing that a person who does not read is no better than one who cannot. And that a person who does not continue to learn to grow as a person is no better than one who cannot. And it's understanding that we must walk with truth every day of our lives if we are to reap the abundant harvest. And that the greatest joy of a human being can know is the joy of accomplishment. That's when we're making the best use of our minds, our talents, and our abilities. I have to agree with that. I mean, I sell this as learning how to manifest a dream life, and you will. But I think that's a secondary prize. I think the big prize is look at me grow. Look at what I can do. Look at what I've overcome. Look at how I've changed. Not because what I was before wasn't sufficient or good enough, but because there was something in me that was just dying to come to the surface, to do more, to be more, to have more. That's the game here. And when we reframe it, is that is a continual deal that will never end because it's in our nature to grow, to express more, to be more, to do more, to have more. That's where the satisfaction in life comes. And oh, by the way, you'll get a whole bunch more of these, which is good. But this, if all of these were making us happy, everybody who had money would be delightful. They're not, because we've been misled to think that get all the brass rings and then you're good, you can coast. It's to a lot of shenanigans. So anyway, I've talked quite a bit, but Kathy, do you have any questions, or Joni, anything you want to say?
Can you put the link, the high performance planner?
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna check and see.
What's the name of the person who?
Yeah, it's Brendan Brouchard.
Brendan.
Yeah, hold on. Joni probably has the link too.
And then do you have your office hours up? So if you want to.
Yeah, actually I don't, but Kathy, I'll text you afterwards and we can make one. Okay, yeah, Joni's gonna send the link.
Awesome.
Yeah, they're great. They're Joni can weigh in, but I think they're not dated. You write the date in, so it's not like you have to buy one for 2023. But I think it's a really good framework. And I have a couple of journals, one that I bought from Kelly Roach, which is good, but I find the reflection in here is in alignment with what we're doing. And I just need to get more organized. And, that was one of my swaps of the non-productive behaviors. But yeah, Joni, thank you so much. If you wouldn't mind dropping that in the WhatsApp. And then Kathy, I'll text you and we can connect. And Lisa, you're on my list of people to connect with too. So
Okay, great.
I will.
I wanted to say one thing to Lisa, if I may.
Sure.
I mean, I don't think that I'm giving you any like major, revelations, but one thing that I found is that walking a dog can be very Zen-like unless, unless there's some anxiety or whatever, but which I know Faith has a little bit, but I found that like I put on my headphones and listen to whether it's, Bob Proctor or The Lesson or the other things that I listen to while I walk the dogs. It can be super Zen-like. And that, that kind of accomplishes two things at once, which is a nice long 30 to 45-minute walk with your dog, and at the same time listening to something that's super uplifting or a lesson. Anyway, I just I thought that might be helpful for you.
No,
because I
that
know
is
you
very
walk your
helpful.
dog.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
You bet.
Okay. Let's do this. I'm gonna wrap this, Lisa. Good. And Kathy, I'll reach out to you after I wrap this up, and then we'll get a time together to connect and go from there. Sounds good. And what I'd love for you to do, and I'll let Laura know as well, is on Thursday, really dive into this, like give it the due, like sit down with the worksheets, go through it, listen, pause it, think about, here are my goals, right? Here are my goals. I have 4, sorry. 2 more than the 2. Sorry. But based on those goals, how would I structure my paradigm? How would I structure a day? How would I structure my daily habits? What would be the low-hanging fruit? I don't advise changing everything at once because of neuroplasticity. The mind and the brain tend to kind of go, whoa, everything's changing. That's usually what happens on January 1st. It's like, yeah, this, I'm never going to eat sugar again. 1% a day or 1% a week will turn the ship in a very short time. It's more about consistency. What would be a couple of productive behaviors that I could replace some NPAs with? And then if you want to know, I went back and looked through lesson 8 because he's talking about praxis, integrating belief with behavior. And I would highly recommend going back and looking through lesson 8 and understanding what he's talking about there, in terms of aligning belief with behavior. So if you're interested, I would recommend that. So I will reach out to both you, Lisa and Kathy, and we'll figure out a time to connect. And this has been wonderful. Thank you all so much. Joni's going to put the link to the Burchard High Performance Planner in the WhatsApp group, and we'll go from there. Enjoy your evening, everyone.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Talk to you
you.
soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.